All right. Hello. Welcome to S+Marketing Live. Hope y'all are having a fantastic Thursday. Before we do anything, I have to announce that somebody has a birthday this week. It was yesterday, actually, but Chad.
Hello. Yes, it is my birthday this week.
Happy
I'm not going to tell you which year.
12.
Usually it happens every year, but sometimes I skip it.
Well, happy birthday, Chad.
Thank you.
Had a
I appreciate it.
fantastic day. All right. Well, this week's episode is Way Forward Personas, Donut Safety, and Self-Deprecation. Sounds fun, right? I think so too. This is S+Marketing Live. We're here to help you feel and be smarter about what's happening in the marketing world right now. What is S+Marketing? Gosh, thanks for asking. It's marketing based on the ultimate human technology, stories.
Stories! Oh!
Stories. Our team is here from Story Collaborative. We're a group of growth marketing consultants, and we're super excited to introduce ourselves. While we do that, if you're on the Facebook app, if you could share, start a watch party, that'd be super great. Otherwise, grab some coffee or something. Dave, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, how are you doing, everybody? Dave Mills, and I'm the Chief Growth Officer here. My job is to uncover great growth strategies and help people to kind of connect them to what they're doing and where they're going as a business. And today we had a tropical storm. It literally just blew through here. It was very, very fast. It really reminds me of the rate of change that is happening across the country in terms of marketing. So it's blowing through, and things are different when it comes by.
Ooh, interesting. I think we're going to talk more about that today. It's a good topic. Jen, say hello.
Hello. Hey, I'm Jennifer Bailey, and I am your therapist here at Story Collaborative. So come bring your website, sit on the couch, and let's talk.
Chad, say hello.
Awesome.
And also tell us today's sponsor.
Hello, I am Chad Alexander, and I'm the video strategist with Story Collaborative. What is a video strategist? I'm trying to figure that out myself. Basically, I help businesses figure out video in this ever-changing world. And today's sponsor is you. Well, actually, it's always be yourself unless you can be Batman. So actually, our sponsor is Batman. Thanks, Batman.
That was great.
There we go.
Well, I'm Amy Alexander. I'm a creative director, and my goal is to make sure that stories are unified from beginning to end, from your receptionist to your logo and everything in between. Let's tell the same story, shall we? Today, we're talking about way forward personas, donut safety, and self-deprecation. Then, and so much more. And then we're going to talk to you all about what that means for you as you adapt your own marketing efforts. Our first segment, repeat after me. What to say to your boss when he walks in and says, our customer retention is down. What do we do? Spotlight. Nerves.
You should answer, Amy. You should answer the question. That's a hard one.
Okay, so, I've been thinking, we need to put our value in the forefront of retention marketing. Our current customers need to hear what's important to us. They're making some long-term brand changes right now, and we want to keep customers really happy. We want to gain the new ones that are looking for new organizations, and we can only do that by displaying our values. I'm going to share a really interesting infographic. So Ketchum, which is a big marketing firm, did a recent study. They get awards for their studies. They do really, really great studies. And in the past, we have talked about pandemic personas. Well, we're beyond them now. Not to say that that information isn't still totally current and helpful, but there's some new information from Ketchum. They call them crisis culture personas. So here at Story, we actually decided to name them way forward personas because we don't want to get stuck in crisis culture. We don't want to get stuck in frustration and anger. Our team wants to move forward. And we think actually these personas are more about way forward than they are just about sort of like sitting in kind of some of the muck we've been having to deal with. So how to market to a changed globe. These personas are the retro re-engagers, which are actually at 33%. the open-minded explorers, cautious questioners, and this should say worried withholders. The timeline for re-engagement, this to me is totally interesting, okay? So they surveyed a bunch of people about when they are gonna start feeling safe doing certain activities. Generally, people said that by this fall, early fall, they're gonna be ready to be at doctor's offices and grocery stores and even return to the workplace, which was surprising to me. In the late fall, November, December, people will be ready to eat in restaurants, which also surprised me because I'm like already eating in restaurants. So where are all the people? They're here. I don't understand what you're talking about. In early next year, they'll start to be comfortable traveling domestically. In the early spring of next year, they'll be comfortable using public transportation and riding on planes. And then in the summer, kind of early summer of next year, they'll start to be comfortable traveling internationally. So this to me is super, super interesting timeline. We'll see how that plays out, how true that stays as people start to re-engage. So what matters now to people? Well, values matter. 86% said that feeling what matters to them is feeling connected to family. 89% said feeling safe. 90 and 91% said physical health and cleanliness. So these are kind of continuing to be top of mind for people, and that's gonna stay the same. People are gonna continue to have those kind of reshifted values. 55% expect to care more about their preferred brands in the future. So they're paying more attention to what companies are doing and why they're doing it and what values are driving those decisions. And 63% expect to find more private labels or small business brands that they support. And I would say that's true for me. What about you guys? You're trying to engage in some more small business?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was an interesting shift.
But I will say it's not easy because a lot of small businesses have not figured out how to make it easy.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more work to find it locally than it is to find it, on one of the big brands.
Yeah, that's a good point. They also have, small brands aren't able to shift as quickly as big brands. So more things that matter to people right now. 75% want diversity prioritized. 88% want ethical, safe, and trustworthy brands. How they determine what's trustworthy, I don't know. That's a question for me. And then 74% recognize frivolous purchases. So they recognize that some of the things they were buying before COVID aren't actually that necessary.
That's the toilet paper effect right there.
That's right. All that matters is toilet paper.
Right.
So here's a really big and important number. 62% of people expect their shift in brand preferences to be permanent. So there's a major thing happening. This is true for like a lot of our schools that are clients, the private schools. They're seeing an influx of families that never would have been interested in private school before. But suddenly they are, because private schools are offering like classes in person and stuff, which public schools are not. So yeah, go ahead.
Amy, it's interesting. I think it's easy to underestimate the size of the brand shifts. People are making really big changes. They're moving to different places. They are, they're making big changes right now. So it's important to realize that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I agree with you. So just kind of comparing these way forward personas. The retro re-engagers, they're kind of the conservative crowd. They don't think that masks in public should be required. They have a high openness to re-engaging in public. They're pretty high income level earners. The open-minded explorers, these are a politically polarized group, which I think is interesting. They are the ones that are more kind of open-minded about making different value shifts. They have a high openness to re-engage, and they are letting things like social media and news and influencers change the way that they think. They're actually the highest income level earner. The cautious questioner is typically a liberal voter. They have a low openness to re-engage. They're still very nervous about kind of health concerns around COVID. They're the ones that are really prioritizing diversity in their brand shifts. And they're below average income earners on average. The last one is the worried withholders. They're less influenced by ads than they were before COVID-19, which is super interesting. They're just sort of like done with everything, I think. They have a low openness to re-engage. They're centrists, so they're kind of in the middle as far as politics go. They're also not the highest earners. They're kind of below average. So there is a quick breakdown of where people are headed, what the way forward is as far as personas, and that will help some of those retention rate questions.
Yeah, that's a really good infographic. Thanks for sharing that. The important thing for a organization, nonprofit, or business is to look at these personas and say which two or so, which grouping is probably ours.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have probably an even spread in most cases of all those. And thinking about who your audience is a great way for you to communicate more effectively to them. And you may have your own set of values that you want to inflect in the market, but be aware that you'll have to appeal to people that agree with you, who will align with your values if you want them to work with you. So those are all important things to be aware of.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that it can be really easy to sort of ignore some of the values conversations happening right now because you're afraid of alienating people. But there is still a large percentage of the population that isn't necessarily as concerned about diversity as they are just about values in general. They want the trustworthiness and the great communication and the ethics, right? So those are all values you can talk about without having to touch some of the other more politically charged items. So anyway, and also remember personas are very black and white, whereas people are not. So people are fluid and they're going to cross these personas.
People are messy.
As they feel. Okay, on to our next question. When you are interviewing a videographer, what are the 3 most important questions you can ask? Chad, can you tell us?
Hey, Jennifer, do you want to field this one? I'm just kidding.
I'll answer it. Here's my questions. Do you have a good video camera? That's my question.
That's a good one. But hey, 9 times out of 10, you already do. At least decent enough for what you're going to be doing. So there you go. Can you guys see me? I'm getting the running man.
We can hear you. So
oh boy.
We can hear you. Fun. We just can't see you move. You're frozen in a very awkward.
It's a good photo, Chad. Don't worry.
In the interest that you guys can't hear me, I'm just going to continue not hear me. Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
He's back. Okay, good.
Hey! It's stupid internet. All right, here we go. So I would ask him, let's just do a top 3 here. One of the most important ones is to say, do you have a portfolio / references? You not only want to look at their portfolio in terms of visually how it looks and the artistic style behind it, the editing style behind it. You also want to look at how they worked on set and how they've worked with people. You want to know what their demeanor is, what kind of what the process is for editing, that sort of thing, if they're going to edit your footage. And then secondly, I would ask them, would they be willing to give away their raw footage for a price? Some videographers don't want to do this because they would rather just give you a final cut, and that's it. You have that, and then they retain that footage. There's times where it could hurt their brand because raw footage, as the name implies, is very, very rough. It's very raw. It's sometimes you accidentally pointed the camera up and you meant to have it down. So keep that in mind as well. And one final question to ask them would be to see, and I lost it, and I'm trying to do it from the memory here.
Target audience.
Yeah. How do you plan to target the audience? So have you thought of your personas? Have you how are you going to serve up the ad? Is it going to be a YouTube ad? Is it going to be a 15-second video ad? 6-second ad? They would have some ideas in mind for you, so they should be able to answer some of those questions.
That's awesome. I love that audience question because a great videographer is great, but a great videographer that can think strategically with you a little bit and actually consider the audience, that is going to be like tenfold better. That's awesome. Okay, so our next question, what to say to your neighbor when they ask you where to shop for appliances? Jen?
What? What do you mean? I don't know anything about appliances. But wait a second, I know exactly what I would do. I would look up reviews for sure, okay? I'm not just saying brand to brand comparison, but company, vendors, where are you going to shop for that appliance? Because reviews are actually the single number one most important thing that I and all consumers look at when they're deciding where to shop. It's going to tell you what other customers who also had to make this exact same decision experienced in that same place. So they can tell you not only the experience that they're having, but also if the owner or the managers of that store actually responded to the reviews or not, and how their customer service experience really was. So reviews can give you insights into how customers are treated and how that experience is for everybody. So I would tell my neighbor, but I would also tell that small business owner who asks me how they're going to get more customers to make sure you are cultivating and responding to your reviews online. That's what I would say.
It can be really easy to do one of two things as a marketer, to either put yourself in the place of your customer and then make all decisions based on what you would do, which is not a great idea because you are likely not the persona. So that's one thing. The opposite of that is completely forgetting what you do as a consumer and then pretending that consumers do the exact opposite of whatever you do. So I love the idea of putting yourself in your consumer's seat and saying, well, what would I do if I were them? You're probably going to come up with some really good ideas about what you as a company should do for their experience. Our final question, what to say to your boss when he asks, do you think it's time for a new website? Ooh. Dave, you're on mute.
You're muted.
That's
It's
better.
one of those questions that gets asked over and over again, and that's what happens to us, right? It's we think we're talking to ourselves, but we're actually on mute. How many times has that happened to you this week? But your boss is gonna ask at some point, or maybe a board member will ask, senior partner will ask, do you think it's time for a website? So here's a couple of different ways you can answer. If you are new to the team, like you're a new marketing director, a new marketing officer, and you're kind of a new kid in the block, then you should say this and take advantage of the fact that you're in a honeymoon period, because probably the website you inherited is not the one you want. So say this: I would like to build a strategy to improve our website with a potential redesign. So tell them right now, yeah, probably we're going to do that. Now, if you have been around for a while, then here's what you should be able to say, because it's always time to be thinking about how well your website's performing. I was looking at stats this morning on the percentage of people and the movement. We've seen it maybe 50 to 70% increase in online traffic since COVID started. Huge trend here. And so, it used to be that a lot of people would look at your website. Now you can assume that every consumer, every business buyer is looking at your website first. So based on that, it's always time to be thinking about how well your website's performing. And you should have this on the tip of your tongue. When your boss says, is it time for a new website? You should say, well, in my last website performance analysis, here is what I found. Be ready to say that. Now, if it's been longer than 18 months, then the answer is yes, it's time to redesign our website. There's been so much change in the last year. And just say, things have changed dramatically in the last 6 to 9 months. I think it's probably time for us to redesign. Now, if you are not doing continuous improvement on your website, at least once a quarter or once a month, if you're not looking at how it's doing and making strategic improvements, we call that growth-driven design. If you're not doing that on a regular basis, and it's been 6 months since you've had a performance checkup and a round of improvements, then you have two choices. Either you need to start doing the improvements and the checkups on a regular basis, or it's like going to the dentist, right? If you're not going to the dentist on a regular basis, then you just plan on getting cavities. So if you're not going to do that, you're going to have to do a website redesign, and probably within 6 months. If you're going to do regular redesign and regular improvements, you wouldn't have to. Now, there's one case where if they ask about a website and you have to say, you know, our website is not improving very much month over month, we're not seeing real improvement, it's definitely time to take action. So a lot of this comes down to how you answer is, are you working on the website regularly? Do you have a plan? If your website was built without a plan, then that's like building a ship that has no rudder. And so your website's just kind of floating around on the ocean, being blown around and driving in circles. So it's probably time. So take advantage of the question as an opportunity to take some action. That's a long answer to a short question.
Well, it's a great answer, especially because almost every answer involves strategy. And I happen to know from personal experience that bosses love the word strategy, and they like it when you say you're going to be strategic. Okay, on to our next segment, ads in the wild. Jen.
My favorite segment. I didn't know I was going to be able to do it so soon in this live video here, so I'm super excited. I have a special ad. Actually, today I have 2 ads for you to watch, so that's pretty exciting. So, have you ever seen an ad that just really bored you to death? Or what happens when an ad campaign just goes totally wrong? I mean, ad campaign actually sends their customers running for the hills, or even better, climbing Mount Everest in flippers. So we're going to actually see what happens when an ad campaign goes wrong and a potential way for a company to solve it. So here we go. I'm going to share my ads in the wild.
Advanced website for your business? First, go to Wix.com. I'm Margo from Wix's team. Let me walk you through building your website with some pro advice. You ready? Let's do this. Wix Video is an amazing tool to showcase what your brand is all about. Insider tip, videos make visitors spend more time with your site, and it increases their engagement with it. Isn't it?
Are you bored yet? Okay, if you're not falling asleep, then you might not be like all of these other users who definitely did not like watching this ad. So thanks to a bunch of YouTubers who watched way too many of these Wix ads, they actually commented about it in the YouTube ads or somewhere, and the company Wix has kind of rebirthed their ad campaign with a fresh spin, responding not only to these criticisms, but also offering great suggestions on how to turn the ridiculous comments into some real solutions using the Wix platform itself. So here we go. Can everyone see the new ad? The green screen. Here we go.
We saw your comments on our YouTube ads.
Need an advanced website for your business?
Seems like you'd rather do anything than watch another Wix ad. I'd rather catch my parents. Ugh. I'd rather get a pedicure from a parrot. I'd rather climb Mount Everest in flippers. I'd rather fall asleep in a tanning bed overnight. Wait, did you just watch another Wix ad? We saw.
It's so good.
Did I just watch another Wix ad? Wait a second. Okay, so this is very cool because what's happened, oops, I stopped my share, but I wasn't supposed to do that yet. So they had a total turnaround in their comments, and I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So why is this literally the best advert I've ever seen? So glad you made this, not gonna lie. That was not word for word. Okay, so somewhere in here it also says that I was gonna buy YouTube Red so that I could get rid of these Wix ads, basically is what they're saying, but Wix actually made me rethink that. So now the users are literally waiting for the Wix ads instead of screaming that they're gonna jump off the cliff. So that's my ads in the wild for the week. I hope you enjoyed.
That was
Great.
wild.
That was wild.
There's actually a type of marketing strategy you can take, which is the idea of advertising what you are not or highlighting your negatives. This is kind of self-deprecating in a way. This certainly was self-deprecating in its own special way. But sometimes when you don't have a great differentiator in your market, you can highlight something that you're not, or again, something that's bad about you, to create humor and to create a differentiator, which is just your messaging. So,
Well, the cool thing about that, Amy, to back you up, is that they literally took all these crazy concepts and showed how easy and simple it was to advertise that concept using their platform. Now, I'm not an advocate of Wix. However, that was a pretty great ad strategy. Dave, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that I think the mistake they made in their first ad campaign is real easy to make. They put someone up there who's like a total nerd for their company, who's totally into doing what the thing does. Hey, no one cares what the thing does. What they care about is what it will do for me, right? So the real truth is, if I want to have a quick business, here's a way I can have a quick and dirty business. It's not going to be fancy. It's not going to be elegant. It's not going to be scalable, but it's quick, right? So they really should be thinking about the value they deliver rather than the nerdy elements of, and if you drag this over here and you pick this video button, pro hint, it's like, the world is not made up of web designers, So they're missing their target audience.
It's funny that you suggest that, because some of their other ads that I actually did not show today are ads that talk about their users who generated 4,000 sales in 24 hours using their platform. So that's kind of the new spin that they took. And yeah, I agree.
And I think, it's a great example of how you have to understand your target audience. Their target audience is really people that they're on the bus and they make up a business idea and they want to put it online and they can do it from their laptop on the bus, right? That's the value of it. It's not for people that are in a real strategy process or anything like that.
Well, I think where they originally went with it was two things. One, we're DIYer, right? We have DIYers. And two, we can be educational. So the idea was like to put someone up there who seems slightly authoritative on the topic and be educational for the DIYers. And the DIYers will be like, oh, that's such great information, advertisement. I'm sold. Obviously that didn't work, but I can see how they got there originally.
Well, the other big failure here is that they misunderstood what their advertising is supposed to be about. Their customers are. They should have shown somebody who was skateboarding and building a website, or they should have done something that would make their customers the hero rather than themselves. Yeah. I think that's why it really failed.
Oh, right. Go ahead, Chad.
Oh, it kind of reminds me, like they should have tapped into those as seen on TV commercials and be like, don't you hate designing your own websites? Well, here's how to do it easily with Quix, or Wix, whatever the crap is called. I don't know. Whatever it's called. Sorry, Wix. I completely forgot your ad and your name. So there you go.
All right. That was great. Thank you, Jen. Let's move on to our next segment, Term of the Week. Chad, what you got for us?
Well, hopefully the internet cooperates again. Ad agent adjacency is the word. Ad adjacency is the term of the week. And so what that really means is when you put up a video on YouTube or you put it on Vimeo, that sort of thing, there will come up an ad, and you want it to basically put it into like positive light for your company. And a lot of times we'll see ads pop up, and we've had to kind of configure this for our clients, where it'll say, you're talking about how to get rid of a nervous tick or something like that. Maybe you have some kind of sleeping aids or something. And then it's like an ad for like a horror movie or something, just not a good kind of combination there. So really you have to make sure, that when you have these kind of inline ads, that they complement your brand and your offering. And sometimes we'll actually see competitors too. So if Wix were advertising, they might have somebody come in that is a better website DIY development tool. So there you go.
Yeah.
Add adjacency. You guys want to add anything to that?
Adjacency.
Add anything to that?
It becomes a real issue for people that have a strong emotional impact on people. So for instance, there are times when funeral homes have used free hosting, which have ads on it. And, so they're running very inappropriate ads in the middle of a funeral. Or you've seen the same thing somewhere else where it's a morally related cause. And because they're using a free platform, ads come up that are just not appropriate.
Well, and ad adjacency typically goes the other way around. Typically, when you talk about ad adjacency, you're talking about your ad appearing next to content that puts your ad in a bad context, but it could certainly be the other way around. It goes both ways. The ad adjacency, things that are appearing on your site or places you're putting your ads. So, interesting. Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
You're welcome.
Our next segment, we're mixing things up a little bit. For a while there, we had the 5 W's. Well, we're getting rid of that, and we're now calling it the brief brief. It's a brief brief on a news topic. As post-COVID population settles into their long-term avoidance of the pandemic, C-suites all over the country are adapting and changing. This is really big news, actually. New executive placements are happening, like the Chief Digital Officer at Dunkin' Donuts that was recently appointed. Brand new C-suite, right? The CDO. The Brand Safety Officer certification that graduated its very first class from the Brand Safety Institute. That happened actually in May. So just as the pandemic was rolling out in the States, this brand new set of graduates, all of whom were already C-level executives at major ad agencies, were certified with the Brand Safety Officer appointment. And that, admittedly, that might be an experimental title or certification, but it proved its worth almost instantly. So here's the too long didn't read. The addition of new C-suite titles like Chief Digital Officer tell us where marketing is headed. Think about how your marketing team might benefit from becoming internal thought leaders on these topics. So don't wait for your leadership to make some kind of big C-level executive change. Instead, start bringing up these kinds of issues like ad adjacency, brand reputation, consumer experience, and personalization. There's a lot more that came from, so I would encourage you to go do a little bit of research on these new titles and what kinds of education they're getting, as well as what their new responsibilities are, because likely your marketing team is going to have to start thinking about those responsibilities. There you have it, the brief brief. All right, our final segment, website.
I'm wondering, Amy, about this digital officer at Dunkin'. Does that mean that they're going to start trying to print digital donuts? Maybe like a 3D donut printer, which they probably could make? Is that what they're doing? I don't know what it means. Also, this brand safety officer.
Yeah.
I am not sure what that means either. I guess it means the brand will be extra safe. I got a haircut today. I hope it looks good. But I was in the chair getting my hair, what's left of it, cut. And there was a big sign up on the mirror for the hairdresser. It said the Barbasol COVID Safety Training Course Certificate. I thought that was so smart of Barbasol to offer all this training, because now I'm sure the training included you should use Barbasol on all your combs, right?
I'm sure.
So is that something that the brand safety officer was in charge of for this haircutting place?
Well,
I have no idea what these things mean.
Yeah. Well, brand safety officer, that is someone who is thinking all the time about the brand safety. How is the brand reputation? What kinds of ad adjacency issues are we being confronted with? Are our ads appearing next to our competitors' really bad content on a regular basis? What else? Brand? Ad fraud, things like that. So it's all about the safety of your brand. The fact that that's now a C-level suite placement, it to me is like really fascinating.
That brings up a good point with ad fraud. So we have this refrigerator that uses a specialized water filtration kind of insert, and there are imitations on the market on Amazon, which is kind of crazy. So there you go. Brand safety officer would come into play with that.
Yeah, that actually Amazon has a really huge issue with that. The chief digital officer, that's someone who's constantly thinking about how digital is changing the pre-consumer experience, the current consumer experience. Especially right now, people are expecting their digital experience with a brand to be flawless. If I want to order Dunkin' Donuts from my iWatch, which I don't know if you can do that, and have it flown in on a mini helicopter in 5 minutes because I have a Dunkin' Donuts within 0.5 miles of me, then I expect to be able to do that, right? So like, it's all about how the digital is influencing the future of.
Well, it's also interesting, you know, as silos collapse in businesses. So we've had several discussions recently with some business leaders about the fact that their cybersecurity can impact their brand. So if you think about brand safety, if someone sends a phishing email out and they've been able to hack and put a page on my website that I don't know about, that's not just a cyber issue, which has legal and financial ramifications. It's also a brand issue. And if you look at some of the big digital brands, they've been hacked recently. So these things kind of all meld together. They all have effects across these different traditional roles in companies.
Yeah, Nintendo got hacked, what, a week or two ago? And they released all kinds of information from the Super Nintendo era and Nintendo 64 era, all kinds of information that was never meant to see the light of day.
Yeah, they lost a lot of proprietary code.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. All right, well, let's move on to our final segment. Thanks for that insight, Dave. I thought that's great. Our final segment is website therapy.
So let's talk today about a really serious website illness. It's called best kept secretitis. Chad's leaning back for some therapy. Now right now we're going to diagnose first, Chad. Before we start therapy, we have to diagnose. This is a really tricky website illness, best kept secretitis. So this is when you or other people in your organization kind of think to yourself, I feel that we are a best kept secret. Because you just don't get the kind of attention you think you should get. So this is the first sign when you begin to ask this question. It's the first sign that you may in fact have best kept secretitis. To know for sure if you have the illness, you have to be able to define who your target audience is. Because the only way to know for sure if you're having enough reach into that audience is to know how big that audience might be. So we had a conversation with a client a year or two ago about the use of Instagram, and they wanted to get a better ID. And so we had to identify how many people could you reach in that audience. So you got to know your target audience. And then you have to figure out how many people you're reaching digitally every month. So the question then becomes, what percentage of your potential audience are you reaching every month? Are you in fact a best kept secret? Now, some of the broadest benchmarks on this, if you have less than 10% in your target audience, there's a good chance you have this illness. If you have less than 6% reach into your target audience, you may very well have a very serious case of best kept secretitis. And now, if you're doing referral building and you're trying to build referrals, this number should be much, much larger, at least 20% of your target audience, and up to 40% of your target audience should know who you are. And so there's different measurement there. So some symptoms are low website traffic, low website conversions, people that you thought would have done business with you, like your friends and neighbors, do business with someone else. It surprises you. Some of the outcomes of this disease are that your competition continues to beat you down. And your online conversions, your online presence continues to fall behind. And the worst thing that can happen is your brand itself could begin to dematerialize. You could become transparent, like forgettable, and people would just not even recognize that you exist. So the therapy process is a process, right? You can't just take a pill for this. There's a process. Jennifer can help you with therapy for this problem. But the first step is to begin focusing on your buyer and your referral awareness. So are you reaching your potential buyers and your potential referral providers and helping them be aware of you? And that starts by making sure your website has a remarkable first impression, that it's working well with SEO, and that you're running effective ads that go to the right kind of pages on your website. So those are some of the first steps to take if you think you have this very horrible thing called best kept secret-itis. And Jennifer can definitely help you out. Reach out to us and we'll give you some help on that.
Dave, what percentage of people that you've talked to, either, prospective, people that you were kind of in the sales process, getting to know, trying to identify if they were the right customer for us, what percentage of those people have said, I'm a best kept secret?
Probably 50%. And most of the people, and then another 20 or 30% actually are best kept secret, but don't know it. But those who think they might be, my experience, often actually are. So that's the first clue to you that you might actually have a real problem. And because awareness, awareness of your brand is really pretty important. If you think about the big brands you do business with, they do a ton of work on making sure you're just aware of them. Their ads don't have think about all the Target ads you see. They're not advertising specific products. They're advertising just the lifestyle, that Target offers. And you see that red Target circle everywhere. Lots of other examples like that. So awareness is actually really important. It's a first step. But then, when people come to your website, if they have a bad first impression, then you actually could be not helping yourself, because they might look at your stuff and go, I don't want to remember this.
Yeah.
This is too ugly to remember. So,
Oh, no.
the ad pops back in. I don't know what that timing was about, but it wasn't very good.
I heard somebody was ugly. I wanted to see.
Wow. Well, happy birthday, Chad.
Well, thank you. And just, hey, remember, guys, there's no we in French fries. There's no we in French fries. So hands off. Hands off my fries and my donuts.
All right. Well, last little plug from us. If you think that you might be interested in a website redesign, you're not sure what the process is going to be, to keep it as pain-free as possible, we do have a pain-free guide that we love to share with you. It's free. You can just go read it. You can download it if you just really want to. And that's it. I'll include the link. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for being with us. It was really great to be here with you. We hope you have a delightful weekend. Remember, stories are the ultimate human technology. And if you thought this was helpful, we're here every Thursday at noon. So long.
Bye.
Adios.